Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Happy early Halloween! This is coming out a few days before. Even though I'm not going out, it is exciting to have Halloween on an actual weekend rather than a weekday, because that's always sucked. Yeah, especially as a kid, I remember those times. But so anyone who is going out, hopefully you are being safe, but enjoy your
Bring lots of hand sanitizer.
Yes, but enjoy your Halloween. But the way that we are celebrating is we wanted to do a very special movie named after the holiday itself, Halloween.
Hi.
Which came out...
The 78 version.
Yes, 1978. So
the OG.
Yes. The movie that... if I recall right in my slasher trivia, there was Black Christmas that came out prior to Halloween, but it was Halloween that really kicked off the slasher genre.
The Black Christmas had more of a cult following.
Yeah.
It's not quite as widely known.
Yeah. Yep.
But Halloween, you hear the music, you know where it is.
Yeah, extremely iconic and nostalgic. So, but first, before we go into it, because we probably have a lot to talk about, let's go to the tea.
So I am drinking Bigelow's Orange and Spice herbal tea because it smells and tastes of fall, and I love it.
I bet. Oh my god. And
so good.
And Jess got me a very special tea for my birthday. I'm sad that she couldn't drink it along with me, but
it's sold out before I could get another one for myself.
But it's the Brutality's Malloween tea, and it's got oolong, marshmallows. I kind of forgot the rest that has, but it smells good.
I have it pulled up still. Hold on. Okay, so it's Lapsang Souchong Oolong Tea, Ceylon Black Tea, natural vanilla flavor, mini marshmallows, natural cream flavor.
I wonder what natural cream flavor means.
Good. It sounds... Well, they used the natural cream flavor in the Screamsicle too, and that was delicious.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it smells amazing. It's a bit too hot for me right now, unfortunately. But I truly appreciate the birthday gift, and I will, of course, make a lot of use out of it.
I hope so. This stuff looked good. You almost didn't get it. I almost had him send it to me instead.
You do care about me.
So guys, if you haven't gone to brutalities.com, that's where we order from their site to get these teas. They're all loose leaf. And so far, every one that we have tried has been delicious.
Yeah. And this is not sponsored, by the way. This is us just
I wish we were,
because we're huge fans of them. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Sponsor us. No. So go to their website. They have a lot of really, really good teas. They're all named really great. They're amazing. They're all puns on either like rock or metal music or on like horror movies. So it's wonderful and fantastic, and we love them.
Yes.
Go look at it. They also have a tea for a cause. Right now it's the Detoxic Avenger, and a lot of the proceeds for that go to like local animal shelters. So go check them out, guys.
I know, I freaking love them. But anyways, off to the movie. So not much summary to be had with this movie. Extremely straightforward, as many of the classics are. I feel like that's kind of what helps make them so timeless. But anyways.
They really are great.
But so Michael Myers became a killer, like, you know, starting at age 6. And he escapes his institution and just goes on a killing spree.
15 years later.
Yes. Yes. So he's 23. And you realize very quickly that he is not very human. And even his doctor himself, like, refers to him in a gender neutral pronoun, just like calls him it.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just says that
object.
He's evil.
Yeah.
He does every now and then use he, but he almost always follows it up with evil.
Yeah. So instead of even referring him as like a gender neutral pronoun or even any sort of human pronoun, he tends to fall towards it. And like even the nurse makes a comment, is like, why do you keep calling him it? Why don't you call him he? And the doctor's like, suit yourself.
Say so.
Yeah. But as we all know, though, or most of us would know if you're familiar with the movie, is he has superhuman strength. And he just has no morality compass at all. It's just killing is just what he...
One-track mind.
Yeah. Yeah. He's literally a killing machine. But yeah, that's all you gotta know. It's straightforward.
And he can take a lot of hits to the chest, apparently.
Yes. Yes.
We'll get into that later.
Yes. But off to entertainment.
Yes.
Would you like me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so this is my reasoning, and while I'm pretty sure I know what score I want to give it, but this movie, it has a few scenes that are a little bit campy, but compared to the other horror movies at the time, they did a really good job, and
they did.
Like the cinematography, the planning, like everything is awesome. And I mean, there's a few cinematic errors. Like they actually filmed in California, but to make it look more northern, they actually made paper leaves and had it like spread. But there's actually a point where they're like going into the graveyard where you can see palm trees in the background. So it's just great. But
it's so funny, guys. We just watched it, and as we were going through, she was telling me, because I hadn't heard about the paper leaves bit, and she had just told me about those, and I was like, I'm not a botanist or anything. Like, I can't really look at a tree and say, oh, that's not native to this area. And as I was thinking that and saying it, I saw the palm trees, and I'm like, that's a little out of place.
Yeah.
And she starts mentioning that there's a scene where you can see palm trees, and I'm like, they just had it.
Oh, I forgot the pumpkins actually were made out of they weren't actually pumpkins. They were another type of squash. Cuz
they looked a little less like that one. They're a different kind of gourd.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a few things that they did with this movie to make it work, because it's obviously a low budget and they were kind of limited by the location. But the ingenuity in this movie and also the cleverness with the filmmaking, like for example, whenever the doctor is talking to the sheriff, I just love, you can see Michael Myers freaking driving by. He's right there. And then, of course, you being able to see him, or the camera view from Michael Myers' perspective. Anyways, I love this movie. I watched it when I was 13, and it scarred me for freaking years. I am not gonna lie. But watching it now, I can truly appreciate the effort and ingenuity put in this movie. So I am going to give it a 9, I think. It's just one of those movies you can watch again and again, and every time I rewatch it, I appreciate it for what it is. I just take off a point for the fact that it's campy in a few places, and of course it's there's a few parts that are a bit unrealistic, but you know.
Oh, there's a lot that's unrealistic, but
well, yeah.
We'll get to that later. More on that later, guys. So I do love this movie, but I do give it an 8. Because they killed a couple dogs. So, and I'm sorry, you automatically lose points when you kill the dog. There were 2.
So if there were no dogs in this movie, would you still give it an 8?
I'd probably give it a 9. It's not like a solid 10,
Yeah,
but
no.
I do watch this movie every year around Halloween. I love this movie. It's great. It's really well done. They do have some scenes that are really creepy. There are other scenes that are kind of campy and funny, but I mean, it's a 70s movie.
And that background music,
it's so iconic.
It just
So
automatically, yeah. It just automatically
exactly
gives you anxiety. Yeah. Well, I think it's the way that he did the music, especially for the theme song. I forgot what it's called, but it's a specific type of chord combination where it doesn't really have a resolve. And so that's why whenever you listen to it, it sounds so creepy. So.
Yeah. Was it in the minor key?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's minor key, and it's also a chord combination where there's not any resolve, so it just kind of leaves you hanging. And then that kind of makes your brain feel anxious, and that's why it gives you that. I mean, music is freaking brilliant.
It really is. It really makes a movie a lot of times. If the music is bad or there's not music, it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
So music does actually have a really big part in a movie.
Yeah, and
it can make or break a movie.
Yeah, and I think another way that a music can impact a movie is how they use it. Like in this movie, they really only use it for emphasis and on particular parts. But I know one good example, like they kind of way overdid the music. But it's like in this movie, I felt like the usage was really well done, and they knew exactly they did know exactly what they were doing, because it's, yeah.
That's true. And they also use sound in the absence of sound for effect. They didn't, and I really, really appreciate this. Unlike a whole bunch of other movies, they didn't make just this giant noise when something happens to kind of jump scare you at that point. Any sound that is made is for a purpose. So like when he crashes through the closet doors, for example, that was pretty loud. It was quite a ruckus, but it made sense there. And they had the music, but it wasn't overpowering.
Yeah. Well, they do use that noise effect whenever the kid runs into Michael, whenever he's coming out of school, but that's really the only time that they use it. And it is a startling scene.
It is, but it's also, again, not very overpowering.
Yeah.
Like, we were listening to it with headphones, and it's not one of those, like, rest in peace headphone users where it blows out your eardrums for no reason.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And I wish they would do that more often in movies, instead of making this giant sound and you can't hear anything for the next couple minutes because they just busted your eardrums. So,
quick side note.
Balanced at all.
So I did try the Halloween, and I will say I really can't taste any marshmallows at all. And I did do the maximum brew time for their recommended brew time, as well as what is typical for oolong tea. I would probably steep it for maybe like a minute more, or even 2 minutes more, just to give the marshmallows time to kind of like melt and become more sugary and kind of deposit themselves into the drink more. But I mean, it tastes good and it smells like fall. Like, but
I mean, you can always add more marshmallows. There are some people that like just a little bit of marshmallow, and others that like load half the cup with marshmallows.
yeah.
So
But in this,
it depends on the kind of marshmallow person you are.
But even brewing it at 195 for 4 minutes, I can't taste any marshmallow. Maybe like a teeny tiny like little grain of marshmallow, but if I wasn't told there's marshmallows, I wouldn't have been able to tell. So, but it's just I will say with the one disappointing thing about Brutalities is if you go with their recommended steep time, it tends to be on the weaker side. So for those who are interested in trying, which they're still awesome and we still recommend, go definitely extend the brewing time and even up the temperature by a little bit, if possible.
To be fair, also, guys, we tend to like really, really strong flavored teas. Like, we want the flavor to punch us in the face.
Yes.
So, it depends. I know some people like their teas a little bit weaker and more subtle. We like ours to, like I said, to punch us in the face with their flavor. So, we like to brew ours a little bit longer. I mean, you guys see me all the time leaving the tea bag in there the entire time.
Yes.
So it's to your taste. We do recommend that you brew it as recommended first.
Yeah,
and then adjust from there.
Yeah.
Less steep time or more steep time as your taste prefers.
Yeah.
So, but back to the movie.
Yes.
So, shall we move on to the realism scale?
Yeah, I don't, kind of wrapping up entertainment, nothing much can be said. Like, obviously, there's some flaws with the movies, like the palm trees, but, whenever he hits the window, you can actually see the hammer that they taped to his hand in order for him to just go bloop. But,
because the window won't break otherwise.
Yes. But I mean, besides that, it was a low budget movie, but they did so much with what they had and they created a great atmosphere. And okay, so for those who don't know, well, first of all, if you look in the credits, it already gives away that the person behind the mask versus the unmasked Michael Myers are two different people. Like, they actually got an American actor, which they purposely picked someone who was more plain looking because they just wanted him to look like the everyday Joe, to make it look even creepier rather than someone with distinguishing features. But for the actual masked man, they used one of the crew members. I believe it was the screenwriter. I know he's done.
That's what you said before. I looked it up earlier.
Yeah, I know he's done the screenwriting for other movies. It's Nick Cage. But anyways, but they chose him because he had a very creepy walk. But all throughout the movie, so it was him that was credited, but all throughout the movie, there's actually different people that are dressed up as Michael Myers. Like, for instance, there's the one scene where the boy is looking out and you see Michael Myers way in the background.
The first time the kid sees him.
Yes, and he's across the street sitting next to a house. Well, that's actually a woman. I know she is on the crew, and I don't remember exactly why they kept changing. Like, I don't know if it's because Nick's schedule didn't line up with some of the filming, because obviously he had a second, job to do on the film. So I'm not sure exactly why, but the extra people
unavailable.
Yeah, the extra people aren't credited at all. They're just you just find out from the special features. But whenever he walks, it's Nick.
Well, and also he's credited as the Shape.
Yes, rather than Michael Myers.
Yes. Yeah. So when it says Michael Myers, age 23, that's the actor that you see when the mask comes off.
Yeah.
And he puts it back on.
Yeah.
But when he's walking, it's the Shape.
Yeah. Yep. So. Just a little fun trivia. Honestly, guys, if you haven't looked up Halloween trivia, you need to. It is fascinating. Like, the fact that the the leaves are paper. I never would have known.
You can't really tell.
They did such a good job. I remember hearing one of them commenting how long it took. Like, everybody, like even some of the actresses were helping create these stupid leaves because they needed so many of them. Like, every single scene where, I mean, it is in every single scene that there's leaves.
Everywhere. They
manually, like, made those freaking leaves. Like, that's incredible. Like, what's their dedicated, like... Amazing.
So much time and dedication.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I will say real quick before we move on to the realism scale, I do appreciate this version more than the remake that came out around 2010 or so.
Yeah, by Rob Zombie.
Yeah. I appreciate this one far more. It tends to be a lot more jarring because in this one there's no reason for what he's doing. There's no rhyme or reason to it. He just does it just because.
Yeah.
And it's like they did try to portray. He's just this random kid on this random street. There's no reason for it whatsoever. He just did it. And then he ends up breaking out, and then he goes back to that same neighborhood, and he just picks someone kind of at random and stalks them and starts killing all of her friends.
Yeah.
And then tries to kill her. Like, there's no reason for it at all. In the Rob Zombie movie, they try to ration it out and give a reason behind why he is the way he is, and that makes it, to me at least, far less scary.
Yeah, like, I did enjoy the Rob Zombie rendition, but I very much think of it as a different movie because he kind of lost the point of the original. Like, the original, like, the fact that they made the actor that played Michael Myers look very plain and your average Joe, they put it in a middle-class neighborhood, kind of showing that this could happen to anybody. This was actually supposed to be a metaphor for something that was happening at the time, but I don't remember what exactly it was. Darn it, I wish I would have looked it up. But yeah, it was actually a metaphor for something, and to kind of like that. Essentially, Michael Myers was the physical rendition of the thing that they're trying to create a metaphor for. So if you look up Nyx Fears, it's NYX space Fears, FEARS, and look at her Halloween video. It is that. Watching her video made me appreciate this movie even more. And actually, all of her stuff is awesome. So if you guys like horror movie reviews like us, but want it to be super campy and lame and funny, then I definitely recommend her stuff. She's awesome. But anyways, just...
So, let's go on to the realism scale.
Yes. And
you first.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, I probably have less to say than you do.
I pick apart movies, guys.
So are we pitting beside the fact that he's basically an evil Superman?
No, because he's supposed to be an average Joe.
Okay, got it. Okay, good to know.
So no.
All right. In that case...
I'm kind of sad I'm out of tea now.
Oh. See, I'm feeling a 3 because I feel like a 2 is maybe a little bit too nitpicky. I don't know. 3, because it's at least realistic enough that it's scary and it makes me like paranoid. So I'm gonna give it a 3.
Fair. You want to explain your logic for it, or are you just gonna sit there and
well, so the reason being is even though the way that he kills the way that he kills the majority of the people is pretty unrealistic. Like whenever the boyfriend that has, I forgot his name, Bob. He just goes down to the kitchen and Michael just like stabs him and it hangs him on the wall. Like, I'm sorry, a knife is not going to hold you up. First of all, as Jess mentioned while we were watching the movie, the knife isn't long enough. And second, the door is probably not strong enough. And then third, because the blade is thin, sorry to be graphic here, guys, but it's probably gonna keep sliding until it like hits your chin or something, and or maybe even
it might
your
stop
rib
at the
cage.
ribs.
Yeah,
It might stop at the ribs.
because he got stabbed in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of
Ish.
like at the lower part of the rib cage. But the way the body is positioned on there, it's too straight
Yeah.
on the door. When someone dies, they go limp. So it would the body would, I mean, gravity works, and it would pull the top part of the body forward, especially the head and everything, and that would make more force and would lean everything there. The body wouldn't stay up on the door.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's not how gravity works.
Yes.
That's
So
not how corpses.
yes. So and then just some of that's like the most flawed death, but also like how the sister dies in the beginning. She's like, oh, it's just not the best. But you could also just blame the movie itself rather than
these movies.
Yeah.
So the acting on that scene was just beautiful. So
yeah, some of the deaths kind of come off as like B-movie type of.
a little bit. It was low budget though.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, and fun fact for those who don't know, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, which actually her relation to her actually helped her get this role, which I believe was her first role in a movie.
I want to say it's her breakout role.
But either way, her mother played Marion Crane, which is the person who died in the beginning of the Psycho movie. So cool little fun fact.
She was the shower death.
Yes, she was the shower death. And I know she's been, I mean, we mentioned it in the Psycho episode. At the time, she was a very well-known actress. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with all of the other movies that she's been in. But,
at the time, she was very, very popular.
yeah. But anyways, cool little fun fact about Jamie Lee Curtis for those who don't know.
Yep. And of course, this role kind of launched her into being the scream queen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and she's a good actress in general too. Like I've seen her. Yeah. I mean, she's been in comedies, and she's just a very well-rounded actress. But yeah, every time she's in a horror movie, I root for her. Like she's just one of those people that you just automatically want to love in a movie.
Mm-hmm. She's really good. So back to realism.
Yes.
I give a tentative 3, but I'm also a bit more nitpicky typically than you. So it's like 2.75, really.
Oh, so now it's a 0.25 scale, not just a 0.5.
We make the scale, woman.
I guess we're just making it up as we go.
Yes. Fight me. No.
Well, good thing we're not like actually putting all the movies we review on a scale. Oh, like that would be a nightmare.
We'd have to adjust everything after each movie.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
So, anyway, from the beginning, the doctor and the nurse are going to pick up Michael really late at night. Why? For the court hearing? That I feel like that's like a morning or middle of the day kind of thing. There's no reason they should have been going to get him at night, especially that late at night. They also didn't have any police escort or anything with them. It's legit just the nurse and the doctor. After the doctor has explicitly told many of them, apparently, that he needs to be in like max security, he's extremely dangerous, he should never be let out, that kind of thing. He has zero faith in anything concerning him security wise, and he keeps insisting that more measures need to be taken, and yet there's not a single cop with them. Not a single one.
Yeah.
Then they drive up to the grounds for the hospital, the mental facility, and there are patients everywhere. So I have to wonder if Michael took out all of the security and the orderlies and everyone in the hospital as well, because I feel like that would have taken a bit. Also, I kind of feel bad for the next day shift that comes in and has to corral everyone back. It's going to be a beast of a Halloween for them.
Well, especially if some of them like actually escape.
And I'm sure they did, because the gate was open. The gate was completely open.
Yeah.
So some probably got out.
You know, now that I think about it, it is kind of strange that the doctor, whenever he's talking to the sheriff, is like, we shouldn't alert anyone. But wouldn't the institution, with all of those escapees, they would have been like, hey, this happened because this guy murdered everyone and let all of the patients out.
It depends on the patients that got out.
Yeah.
And the ones they were able to corral back in. They might have still been doing a head count at that time, potentially.
Maybe.
Because it probably took a fair bit of time and effort getting everyone back into the asylum and everything.
That's fair.
It just depends on the situation and who exactly escaped. Yeah. But it's also up to, they would notify the authorities first, and it would most likely be up to the authorities whether or not they issue that information to the general public.
Yeah.
They might not have wanted to cause a panic.
True.
So it all depends on the situation. So that I can kind of understand. But it sounds like the authorities didn't hear about the other escape patients at all.
Yeah.
Like the doctor had to call them to tell them about Michael. So, I mean, communication is bad.
Really bad.
Yes. Then, while they're there and Loomis goes up to check the other open gate that actually leads to the hospital itself instead of just the grounds, because there's apparently a couple of different gates. The one for the grounds and then another gate to the actual facility. While he's outside of the car, Michael climbs creepily onto the top of the car.
Yeah.
And the nurse stupidly rolls down the window and he grabs her through the window. Okay, fine. Whatever. She gets out of his grasp, but we don't ever see her put the car in park. And the car is not moving anymore when she's in the passenger seat. Then that's when you see the hand with the hammer.
Yeah.
Breaking the window. You're not meant to see the hammer. And most do miss it. But the way it's supposed to be portrayed is him just hitting the window and it breaks, and that's not how windows do.
Yeah, like if you, like whenever he like quickly does his hand back and then hits it, like whenever, at least I saw the hammer whenever he quickly did the back and then hit, but I think...
Yeah, it's a very split-second kind of thing, so it's very, very easy to miss.
Yeah.
But we know that they're trying to say that he just hit it with the flat of his hand and it broke, and that's not how windows do.
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty impressive to be so strong that you can just go whack, just bitch slap a window.
It would if that's actually how windows worked, how car windows worked. But they don't. And they're meant to actually shatter more. It actually broke into a lot larger pieces than they're supposed to.
Well, one thing that you might want to consider too, though, is we don't know if in the 70s they had a different type of glass that was used in the vehicles. Because nowadays, I know that glass is actually, your windows are actually two separate layers. So that way, if it's cracked on one side, it's not going to affect the other side unless if it's a really bad crack. And that's why if you get some sort of crack in your windshield, the whole thing doesn't go kablooey because it's got that extra layer of protection. But back in the 70s, I don't know if that's something that they did. Maybe it was more closer to like what we think of as like window glass for like your home. I don't know.
Possibly. But that still wouldn't break with him just hitting it with the flat of his hand.
Yes, yes.
So it's still a point off.
Yes. With the hammer, definitely would break, but yeah, not
Yes.
with how
With
the
hammer,
movie is
yeah.
trying to portray it. Yeah.
Nope. So anyway, then with the deaths and everything, just again with the knife, that's not how corpses do.
Yeah.
And that was most of the one there. The biggest issue that I kept having was the people never ever locking the doors or closing the window. And when Jamie Lee Curtis was concerned about her friends, when she kept getting these like weird calls and all, and it sounded like something was happening with one of her friends, she takes the keys with her and goes out of the house, does not lock the door, goes across the street to the neighbor kid's house, sees the dead bodies, which the bodies keep just like revealing themselves to her for no reason. Like the guy, Bob's body comes swinging through the doorway. How was he put on there?
Yeah.
In that way for him to swing like that at that precise moment? And then she backs towards like a cabinet and the cabinet door opens and oh, there's another friend. There's no reason for the cabinet door to have opened.
Yeah, I feel like they probably do that to make sure that the movie length wasn't too ridiculous or that scene was too extended. They probably just wanted her to immediately like see that everyone was dead and then move on with the movie. Because if they actually had kept the bodies where they were and she found them, I could imagine that would really slow down the scene.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have just moved them all into the same room and positioned them like around the gravestone, kind of like they did that other girl's body.
True, but from a movie perspective, it would make it less freaky. The fact that the body comes swinging down like that.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty jarring, especially if you're watching in the theaters.
But. Yeah, but as a realist, I'm sitting here like, how did he rig that for it to go off right then? Yeah. Also, right at that point, he goes to slash at her and only hits, like, he just grazes her arm. I'm sorry, but you haven't missed a single damn time this entire movie. You're gonna miss when she's 2 feet in front of you? Bull.
Yeah, that's fair.
Then she runs out of the house, goes to the house that she's babysitting, and then starts, like, banging on the door. Okay, 1, woman, you didn't lock the door. That door's open. 2, if the door somehow did lock behind you when you closed it, you brought the keys.
But yeah, she's, like, checking her pocket. Like, did she, like, accidentally drop the keys?
Set it down.
Okay.
We never saw her drop the keys or set them down.
Okay, because you do see her kind of try and check her pocket, so it makes me wonder if they're trying to allude that maybe she dropped it while she was running. Because I mean, she did fall down the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, she didn't lock the door.
Yeah.
So it was open. Then she gets in, and a window that was previously closed is now open, and he gets in that way. To be fair, it could have been that it wasn't locked, and he just opened it and walked in. Because no one locks anything in this movie, apparently. Ever. Ever. Some of them don't even close the door. It drove me nuts, this whole scene. So then she stabs him with the knitting needle after he misses again and stabs the couch cushion instead of her. I don't know how with this one chick, she's just magically knife repellent. And just, he keeps missing her. He keeps rolling a 1 when he tries to hit her. And just fail. Auto fail. She stabs him in the neck with a knitting needle about 2 to 3 inches deep.
Oh.
Not sure how she missed his windpipe or spinal cord, but happened. And she also missed a major artery, but that's cool. And he falls down, and she doesn't pick up the knife. She doesn't keep a hold of another knitting needle, doesn't pick up the knife or anything. Just
Doesn't attack him again.
Nope. This is fine. She goes up to the kid. She thought he was dead. Whatever. He wouldn't have bled out that fast, but that's fine. And I guess she hasn't reached that point in, biology or anything. That's fine. And she tells the kids, I killed him. And the kid's like, he can't be killed. As you see his shadow going up the stairs.
Yeah.
So she did try to be smart when she, shoved the kids in that room and said lock the door, ran to the other room and opened the balcony doors to the outside, and then went in the closet. But then she screwed herself over because she was making too much noise in the closet. So, he didn't even go to check the balcony door or anything. He went straight to the closet because he could hear all the noise she made. So he's breaking in. She did also pull another smart move and grabbed one of the wire hangers and stabbed him in the eye. And then she grabbed the knife that he dropped and stabbed him. But then she didn't stab him again. Follow through. Follow up. He's still trying to wreck the closet. No. Stab again. Also, go for the head or the neck. Because clearly the body is not working.
Yeah.
Why does no one ever go for the head? She gets out. Again, thinks she's dead. She drops the knife right by him. And sits there crying. Okay, she's been through a traumatic experience. Whatever. Shouldn't have dropped the weapon, but whatever. Loomis comes through right as he's about to stab her again and shoots him in the body. And then shoots him a few more times in the body. And he falls backwards out the window. And then the next time they look out there, he's gone. Why does no one aim for the head? I don't know what he stole to, put under his costume or whatever, but it's blocking a lot of the damage, apparently.
Yeah. Or he's got really thick bones, and his heart is just so protected by his ribs.
Or Loomis is just a horrible shot and misses everything important ever.
Oh. Do the quote on the way to a man's heart. Okay, we're over here watching the movie, and it's her Jamie Lee Curtis fighting Michael Myers she's being attacked in the closet, and Jess said the most amazing word. It's kind of concerning, but at the same time, I'm like, you've got a point.
Was I wrong though?
No, I guess not. I mean, I'm not a biologist or a doctor, so I can't say with all certainty, but it makes sense.
The quickest way to a man's heart is through the stomach. You go in and up.
Because I'm over here why are you talking about, do you have something for Michael Myers or something? And I was like, oh, it just startled me. I just was not expecting that.
His side, sweetie, you go into the stomach and up. That way you don't have to deal with the ribs. It bypasses them completely.
Oh, man.
I'm fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
You know, I am curious, though, on... Because obviously the ribs are to protect the heart, but it's like, for instance, whenever like CPR is given, you know, oftentimes it's common for the ribs to actually be broken. So I just kind of wonder how much force would actually be needed to stab someone through the heart versus, because I would think it'd be a lot more accurate to use force to go through the ribs versus like if you went through the stomach, because if you went through the stomach, you might end up like hitting the middle of the chest and missing the heart. I don't know. I mean, you might hit some arteries.
It depends on the angle of the knife.
Yeah.
But you're also going to do a hell of a lot more damage if you go through the stomach.
This is true. If you kind of stab the knife and kind of wiggle around the bit to try and get through the heart,
it's going to be difficult to stitch that back up.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's going to be damage.
There's going to be a ton of internal bleeding.
Yeah. True.
And if you nick the stomach while you're at it, then that
the stomach acid.
hydrochloric acid's going to seep out and start eating the inside as well. So,
yeah, sometimes I'm concerned about you.
This is fine. Totally fine.
Yeah. But I'm just glad that I'm your friend and not your enemy.
This is fine. Moving on. You just threw me under the bus with my demented moment there. That's fine.
No. I mean, we're all demented. I mean, okay, if you're a horror movie fan, you're demented on some level. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just a fact. Like, there's some level of you that is, yeah. But anyways.
It appeals to you, therefore there is a little bit of demented in all of us.
Yes. I mean, I'm the one over here listening to what you're saying. I'm like, that's a good point. So, I mean, how demented am I? But anyways. But, well, is anything else you wanted to cover on the realism? I feel like we covered the majority of things.
That was pretty much it.
Oh, one thing we forgot to mention is whenever Jamie Lee Curtis and her friend that I don't remember the name of with the black poofy hair, whenever they're driving, they're smoking. And whenever they drive up to the sheriff, which is her friend's dad, they immediately roll down the window. And there's no way that all the smoke would have gone. Like, he smelled the smoke.
The smoke I can see not really being there. It dissipated in the car. They weren't exactly like hotboxing the car or anything.
True.
So I can see that. You don't really see any evidence of smoke or anything like that. But the smell, I feel like he did notice it and just didn't say anything.
Yeah. Like cigarette
because
smoke sticks to stuff.
He's got other things on his mind. He's like, this is the least of my concerns right now.
Yeah. And it's pretty strong smelling too.
A little bit.
Yeah. So kind of want to... Yeah, maybe he smelled it and he's like, I'll talk to her later about it. Because he was in the middle of his job, so maybe he just didn't want to touch on it in front of his coworkers at that time.
He's in the middle of a crime scene, just kind of keep it in the family. It's also, like, it's not that big a deal comparatively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little concerning, but okay, fine, whatever. We'll discuss it later. I'm in the middle of a robbery here, breaking and entering, theft. So, bigger fish.
Yeah. And the movie has another one of the horror movie flaws where the teenagers are women in their low 20s. I mean, I can at least they don't look nearly as old as some of the movies we've watched. Like, They
were better.
Yes, a lot better.
They were definitely better. Also, another horror movie cliche. All teenagers are horn dogs.
Yeah. Though I know, like, they purposely were making Jamie Lee Curtis's friends a lot more
Sinful.
sinful, then they're trying to really make Jamie Lee Curtis's character look like the girl next door, like very you're the ideal teenager at the time, so that way whenever she got attacked, you would root for her and not want her to die.
Well, they refer to her a couple of times as Girl Scout.
Yeah.
She's kind of like the goody two-shoes.
Yeah. And even whenever she's in her bedroom, it looks like she barely grew up because she still has like her Raggedy Ann doll. It just, whenever you look in her child's bed or in her bedroom, it looks like a child's bedroom.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's still very pure.
Yes.
They want to portray her as the pure one, and that's a fairly common thing in a lot of, especially the earlier horror movies.
Yeah.
The virgin or the pure one gets away.
Yeah. Which I think is just part of the cultural norms at the time. How it's looked down upon for teenagers to have sex and
that's why they made fun of it in Scream.
Yeah.
He even mentioned it, and they actually were watching this movie during one of those scenes.
Yes.
And he was explaining it's the sin factor. You can't have sex in a horror movie or you die.
Yep.
Those are the rules.
Yep. So they, it's been so long since I've watched Black Christmas. I don't remember if they followed that trope at all.
I don't remember, but I'm sure we'll get to that at some point.
But if Black Christmas didn't start it, Halloween certainly started. I feel like Halloween took a lot of elements from other horror movies, like specifically on Black Christmas. That's the whole reason why they called it Halloween. They're like, oh, we'll just name it after another holiday. And which I think specifically naming a movie Halloween, it's already one of the scariest days of the year. And then just adding that extra scare element, I think was really smart of them to do so. And that's kind of what helped the movie stick. Because you don't really go into Christmas being like, oh, I remember that horror movie. It just, it doesn't, it's such a happy time. You don't really get scared like you do around Halloween.
Well, I mean, it's called the season of hope for a reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. But yeah, they essentially took a lot of elements from previous horror movies and kind of made them more iconic, I guess.
Well, I feel like a lot of other horror movies took this movie as kind of a template.
Yes.
Took a lot of elements from there because this is one of the more original classic horror movies. I mean, this came out before Nightmare on Elm Street. It came out before Friday the 13th, before Child's Play. So this actually influenced a lot of other movies. Yeah,
like Halloween, I won't go so far as to say is the original slasher because there are movies that came before it, but it is the one that made the slasher genre what it is.
And it made it more popular.
Yeah, and influenced the following movie. So, I mean, that's impressive. So,
and it did spawn a whole bunch of sequels that I'm sure we'll get to at some point, except Halloween 3. Which we do not mention. Period.
I mean, they were following what their original intentions were going to be.
I understand what their original intentions were. It just sucked.
Okay.
I was disappointed. I didn't know their original intentions when I went to watch it at first. And I found out after the fact, so I spent the entire movie looking for Michael Myers. Disappoint.
But anyways. Well,
so that's all I got.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's everything. But let us know what you thought of the movie. If you have any fun Halloween trivia, we would love to hear it. If you didn't know about any of the trivia we mentioned, you need to look up more of the trivia. This movie is so fascinating on so many different levels.
Well, like the mask, the William Shatner mask.
Yeah.
The mask that Michael Myers wears is a William Shatner mask that they got on a corner store, like right before, for $2, and they spray painted it white and called it good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I forgot I think they had 2 or 3 different masks, and then they kind of like sprayed them up and stuff, and they're like, which one looks the scariest? And it just so happened to be that mask.
Yes.
Oh.
So it was great. So any other trivia would be awesome, guys. If you have any other movies, this is our last one for the Halloween season. So
I know.
So if you have any other suggestions for movies that you want to see us review and watch, let us know. We have no plans that I'm aware of for November, so we will get to those right away if we do receive those. And until the next time, stay safe and stay spoopy, guys. Be careful out there on Halloween.
Yes.
It is a full moon this year.
Yes, be careful. Stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.
Bye, guys.